You're listening to the Scottish Football Forums podcast, the home of Scottish football banter.
"28 games played in the Scottish Premiership. We are down to the final 10. Or 9, is that? We'll do the maths on this show. We're here to review. Well, God, I don't even know what episode it is. I probably should have asked one of the other guys that normally hosts before we started recording. But anywho, welcome to season 15, 16, something like that. Episode, let's go 28 because it's match day 28 of Scottish Football Forums podcast. I am your host, Josh. For this week, here with podcast semi-regulars, Celtic fan Darius. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing well, Josh. How are you, pal?
Professional as ever. Grant, how are you, mate?
I'm really good, Josh. It's great to be back on SFF. It feels like a long, long time since I've been on, so a bit of a last-minute mix-up, but I'm delighted to be in your company this evening and for the listeners as well, so great to be on.
Chuck the darts, and to come on the pod to talk football with us. We might even find a bit of time to talk about the curling and all.
Very much so. It's been a good time at the Winter Olympics.
I know. And joining us on the pod again is Hearts fan Jamie. How are you, mate?
Aye, really good, really good. As nervous as I was last time I spoke to you, what was that, start of January?
Probably, aye.
Still not getting any easier, but I'm supposed to be enjoying it apparently.
Well, it is. I mean, it is certainly heating up. First things first, let's address what I talked about in my opening. Is there 10 games to go or is there 9?
There's 10 if you're Hearts. Well, I'm looking at it from a title race point of view, so it's 10 if you're Hearts and Rangers, 11 if you're Celtic and Motherwell.
Yes, 10. 10, right, okay, perfect. That's the primary school arithmetic out the way. Huge weekend of football in the title race. As it stands at time of recording, Hearts sit top of the table on 60 points, Rangers below them on 56, Celtic on 54 with a game in hand, and Motherwell on 50, also with a game in hand over Hearts and Rangers. That is the classifieds. The title race, lads, I mean, we'll talk about this. Who's going to win it?
I'll let you answer first.
Touchwood. Grant is the only neutral here, mate. Who's going to win it?
It's just madness, isn't it? It's the best Scottish Premiership title race in my lifetime, certainly, and I was born in 91. I don't really recall 97, 98 that much. It was pretty close, obviously, with Hearts, Rangers, Celtic, right about those times. But this has been a season which just keeps on giving. Whenever you think one team might be pulling clear, the other teams kind of come back into it. I know Rangers and Celtic have had their issues. It's been well documented. There's been a lot of discussion about Hearts. Is their bottle going to crash? But they're still there. They're still 4 points clear. They showed a great recovery after losing against Rangers last weekend and one beat Falkirk to, really kind of get back on the horse a little bit and put themselves in a great position, it has to be said, at this moment in time at the top of the table. But listen, Josh, you can't rule anyone out. You can't rule Celtic out. They are the defending champions for a reason. I know they're 6 points behind. I know all their troubles has been well documented. I'm sure Darius will talk a little bit about that himself later on. But you can never rule out Celtic. You can never rule out Martin O'Neill. And let's not forget Motherwell. I mean, they have been probably one of the stories, if not this story of the season. Jens Bertolaski's team have been a joy to watch. Dismantling St Mirren at the weekend. They're just a fantastic team. So to answer your question, I genuinely don't know, but I would love to be a Hearts fan right now because, if you said to them, you're 4 points clear with 10 games to go, they would bite your hand off right now. They've been absolutely fantastic. Derry McInnes has done a tremendous job. And right now it's in their hands and it's theirs to win. People say it's theirs to lose, of course, as well, but it's genuinely theirs to win.
Yeah. And, the thing is, we're on, I mean, we're on match day 28, right? Or we just went and had match day 28. So we're what, 5 games away for the split? Um, this split is going to be carnage because we're talking about Motherwell, Rangers, Celtic, Hearts there. You know, I would, you know, my team Rangers go away to Hibs and Falkirk. I'm no, you know, I mean, well, we've lost, we've through 3 games in a row now, away. And I wouldn't be comfortable going away to Falkirk, going away to Hibs, knowing that I would be able to pick up 3 points. And I don't think Hearts or Celtic fans would feel comfortable going away, or even at home with the likes of Falkirk and Hibs and Motherwell. Um, it's going to be so difficult when the split does come. Um, Dan,
I think you're spot on. Sorry, I was
yeah,
just
there
going
you
to jump
go.
in there
There you go.
and say I think you're spot on when you say that the split is going to be absolute carnage. And I think actually I hadn't really thought about this until you kind of mentioned it there, but that is actually something that could maybe work to Hearts' advantage is the fact that teams are just going to, if we can get to a point where we're, the same as it is now, 4 points clear at the top going into the split, everyone's just going to take points off each other. The results are going to be absolutely mental, so nobody's going to be able to get that sort of ground up. I don't look at Celtic and Rangers at the moment and see them going on a run of 5 wins in the trot. There will be a draw in there here or there, at the very least. But it's a kind of you're spot on when you say it's going to be an absolutely mental last 5 games.
See, I mean, see the figures for Hearts, Jamie. Although, I mean, the thing for me is that folk folk keep thinking that they're going to fall off, but you just keep grinding out the wins, right? And it's a probably a cheap and easy comparison to make, right? But the comparisons um are so there with the Leicester team, who
Mm.
towards the end just kept churning out 1-0 wins, and eventually, managed to go over the line.
Well, it's that thing, isn't it? It's like it was the same with Leicester. Everyone was like, "Oh, they'll fall apart. They'll drop off. They'll drop off." And then before you realise it, there's like 5 games to go and they're still top.
Yeah.
And it's like nobody took this seriously until it was too late.
Mhm.
I think we're slowly getting to that point just now where I think people are starting to realise this isn't going to Hearts aren't going away, whether they win the league or not. They're not. They're not going to fall apart. And you need to remember as well, the last, 6 games or something, we've been without Shanklin, Devlin, Benny's been in and out the team through injury and suspension.
Finley's been injured.
Finlay got injured on Saturday, but again, I like McCart, so I'm not panicking about that. There's other players I can't think off the top of my head actually now, but it was weird. I was talking about my pals about it earlier. You could actually make a team out of the players that Hearts have out injured at the moment. Yeah, so I mean, I think the idea is we'll get Devlin back for mid-March. We play Kilmarnock. Again, they're showing signs of life, so that'll be a pretty horrible game away. And then the week after, I think that's when we've sort of penciled in Shanklin to come back. Now, if we can again be 4 points clear by the time they come back, that could be a huge boost. That could be potentially just what gets us over the line at that point. But you're right when you say that the Leicester thing. It's you don't take it seriously until it's too late. And it's a fair comparison. I would say I would probably go as far as to say I think it would be a bigger shock. Sorry, I think Leicester is a bigger shock than it would be if Hearts won the league, purely because Leicester winning the league was more like a Kilmarnock winning the league. It was, whereas like Hearts winning the league would be more like an Everton winning the league.
Yeah.
There's a big club there with a bit of history, and you always think if they can get it right,
Yeah.
there is a potential to do that. But yeah, I mean, we're running out of, like that's the good thing for us is that we're running out of games for teams to catch us. And
Do you think they? Because one of the things I'm constantly hearing, right? one of the things that, when I talk to other Rangers fans, we talk about, we talk about where we are in real, in respect of Celtic, right? So
We've heard a lot of that
yeah,
for both
so
Celtic and Rangers. It's
yeah, so
too focused on each other.
yeah,
But
exactly. And like you're saying, I think there's a bit of arrogance. Well, there obviously is a bit of arrogance there in terms of, feeling like Hearts, no matter the fact there are only 10 games left, they will fall away at some point, and there is almost an expectation from both sides of the old firm that one of them will assert the dominance and move ahead of Hearts.
I mean, I think there's an arrogance thing, but I think it comes from a place of people think they've seen this before, but I don't think people have seen this before. We talk about Aberdeen last season. Aberdeen were well out of the title race by the end of November. I can't remember when it was that they started that awful run, but they weren't, end of February. We'll still be top on the 1st of March, regardless of what happens on Saturday. So it's I think it's arrogant to believe that this is just going to go away. I don't think it's going to go away, as I say, regardless of whether it's Hearts that win the league or not. I think, we're seeing, but there has been a lot of Celtic Rangers fans that I've seen anyway that like they're purely focused on each other, and that again, I kind of hope that the teams the management and the players at Celtic Rangers are thinking the same. Well, if we catch Rangers or we pull ahead of Celtic or whatever, then we'll be okay. And it's like, but you've still got Hearts to think about. And again, Motherwell are sort of coming up the backside. So,
Mm-hmm. And you've got a good run.
out the four of us, I think Hearts have the most favourable run. Doesn't work like that because you think Celtic Rangers are going to win at the weekend, and that doesn't happen. But I think we're four out of the next six are at Tynecastle. We've not lost a game at Tynecastle this season, which I'll probably just jinx now because Aberdeen will beat us on Saturday. But
there's no chance of that happening, Jamie.
Oh,
being an Aberdeen fan.
It's that thing. It's like Aberdeen, to all intents and purposes, are a bit shite at the moment.
We're dreadful.
Aye. You just know fine well they're not going to be shite at Tynecastle. Even if Hearts win, Aberdeen are not going to be shite at Tynecastle. But yeah, I think if we can get through the Aberdeen game unscathed, we've then got a week off because we're not in the cup. I think the players are going away to Dubai or something for a training camp. Yeah. So hopefully we'll get a few players patched up and back that were maybe have been missing for a while. And then we've got that sort of. I think, I can't speak for Derek McInnes, but if I'm them, I'm looking at this after the Aberdeen game as a sort of reset. Take stock of everything and say, right, this is it. We've got 9 games left. This is what we're going to do. Focus on it and sort of treat it almost as this last 9 games as like a mini season. And do it that way. But
I think that's the way he's got to do it, isn't it? And the feeling that Hearts are going to fall away. What Derek McInnes, Grant, what Derek McInnes is like. That is going to be fuel for him.
Absolutely.
It's a siege mentality. Do you know what I mean?
He's already done it so far this season, hasn't he? Remember the Hibs game? He was at Brian McLaughlin very vividly about, obviously the fight back after what happened against St Mirren. So, and obviously the Rangers game as well. So
I would love to see like a fly in the wall documentary of one of these Sunderland till I die. I know, obviously, it's, see if there was one of them for this Hearts season, man. This would be the.
Yeah. They did one of them for the Hearts when we got relegated, but it was shite. Like it was more.
Who was that manager again? German guy.
Oh, Stendel.
Daniel Stendel.
He took them go-karting.
Aye. That's that, but that's the type of thing you only ever do that when your team's shite. You don't do that when the team's winning every week. But
I don't know. Russell Martin took them to the Loch Lomond early in the year.
That was worse, right? Because Daniel Stendel came in trying to fight a relegation, right?
Yeah.
Russell Martin done that about 4 weeks into the season.
Yeah. But one of Hearts' wins under him was against Rangers. People forget that.
Two of them. We beat them in the cup.
That's right.
Beat them in the
that's
cup
right.
and in the league.
The one in the cup was the one I was remembering. Yeah.
Oh, that was a fucking dreadful game.
But just to kind of carry on a little bit more of what Jamie was sort of saying there, I mean, I'm looking at the run of games that Hearts have got. I mean, obviously referencing the Aberdeen game because it's the first game to come, but that is such a big game because the following weekend, they're not in the Scottish Cup. Rangers and Celtic have two head-to-heads. I'm sure Darius will talk about Celtic later on, and obviously yourself, Josh, will talk about that Rangers-Celtic double-header, which is huge. And let's not forget, Celtic still have to come to Aberdeen in the middle of all this as well. So Hearts have got a break before they go to Kilmarnock, which won't be an easy game, of course. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff, but, Hearts, will be fresher, you would think, for that game. Killie are obviously in the scrap to survive. But then Dundee at home, we saw what Dundee did at the weekend, beating Aberdeen. Stephen Pressley coming up against his old team. Dundee have been really impressing me in the latter stages of the season. I think Pressley has surprised everybody by still being in the job in the first place. I think everybody had him going pretty much early on, but I think they could make life very difficult for Hearts, even though it is at Tynecastle. Livingston away, Marvin Bartley's getting a tune out of Livingston, probably too little too late for them to survive. Played well for a good hour against Rangers at the weekend, but getting a few little results as well. And then obviously Motherwell before the split. Motherwell are one of the best football teams, if not the best footballing team in the league. So yes, on paper, the 5 games they've got there are probably not as hard as they could be, but they're certainly not going to be easy, that's for sure. And it all comes down to Bottle. It's about mentality. You mentioned about it earlier on, Josh, about the 1-0s. Manchester City were masters at doing that. Arsenal were masters of it in the past in English football. The phrase 1-0 to the Arsenal. So evident, of course. But I would love to be in Hearts' position right now, but they have to hold their nerve. And if they could hold their nerve and then they get the likes of Devlin, Shanklin seeping back into the team as well, that's only got to strengthen Hearts, surely. But this is where McInnes has to earn his corn now because he's a fantastic manager. He was good at Aberdeen for a period of time, of course. But this is as good a chance as he's got to win the league. This is a greater chance than he had in 2015-16 when he was in charge, when obviously he was ahead of a Ronnie Deila Celtic team. And that didn't work out from then. Maybe the board didn't back him enough. Perhaps that probably played a factor as well. But has McInnes learnt a lot as a manager from then? We're about to find out.
Yeah, absolutely, Grant.
Go on.
It's going to be nice. And I think there's an element. I mean, I know that we've there's been a lot of talk in our podcast group chat, actually from clubs, non-Old Firm clubs that are not Hearts, desperate for Hearts not to win the league. It's not that I like. There'll be. I obviously want Rangers to win the league, right? But there will be an element of if that then means Hearts don't win the league, there will be an element of me that thinks, oh, I'd love to have seen that. And I think if you ask any fan, really, any fan in Scottish football, really in their heart of hearts, no pun intended, would they like to see Hearts win the league? And the answer would probably be yes, but not at the expense of my own team. But yeah, it would be pleasing to see, the scenes of the first time in 41 years.
41 this year. 41, is that right, Grant? 41 years this year since Aberdeen won it.
Well, it's been that long. It's certainly been over 40 years, certainly.
Yeah, definitely. So, absolutely. At the weekend, Jamie, Falkirk. Okay.
Listen, Falkirk are a good side, so we kind of always knew that I had a sort of potential banana skin element to it. First half was pretty rotten, to be honest with you. It was kind of scrappy, and they maybe looked like they were getting to second balls a wee bit quicker than us, but they weren't really doing that much. We got the goal just before half time, and that kind of settled us into the second half. I think it's a slightly different game if you go in at half time at 0-0, and we have to kind of, we have to then go on to win the game. But the second half we were absolutely fine. Possibly could have got a couple more, but saw it out pretty convincingly. I don't think Falkirk really ever looked like they were going to score. A couple of half chances. And it's like, yeah, just another one ticked off the list, to be honest with you. That's the way that, I'm looking at it from a Hearts point of view. That's kind of how I'm, how it is at the moment. But Falkirk, you can tell just from looking at them, I think almost in the same mould as Motherwell, but just no quite at the same level. They look well drilled. They look like their movement and their passing in the midfield's really good. See, when they get to that 18-yard box, they don't have a fucking clue what to do. And that was good for us, but I think they are shooing for top six, easily shooing for top six. I mean, looking at the league table now, I know Aberdeen are playing Dundee United at the moment. If that remains as it is, they're still 9 points clear. I just don't see Aberdeen or Dundee United putting together a run to kind of to catch up there. But
They would need to win all Dundee United. They would need to win all their games.
They're not going to do that.
No.
Aberdeen aren't going to do that. They just, there's no way you can switch that form so quickly at this time of the season. So yeah, I think that the top six is more or less set now. It's just waiting for that split to happen.
Absolutely. Speaking of splits, right, Darius, admit this to me, right? You were among the fans at Celtic Park on Sunday cheering when the news came in that Rangers were 2-0 down.
Yes, especially when we got the goal back before half time to make it 1-1, and like it gave us a bit of a lift. We just heard it was 2-0 to Livingston. It was just, we were surprised as well because Livingston have not won a game since the 9th of August. They've been pretty poor this season and they've just not got going at all. But in terms of the performance again, like, it's just flat. I've said this to a lot of the guys that are from our supporters bus as well. Our problem is the midfield, I would say, as well. The amount I would say Hibs again, and most teams in the league, when they've got the ball, Celtic's midfield just looks very disjointed and all over the place. And like, they would have, Hibs had like 10, 15 yards to pass the ball. It was just too easy, just getting cut open far too easily, and it was just flat and poor. And there's not enough urgency at all in the team. That Celtic have not. The problem, I would say, is we've not got we need someone like a Scott Brown in the team. You need someone that's like a proper, like, hard man in the team. There's Hearts, for example, right? I know Devlin's out in the team now, but see when Devlin plays for Hearts as well, he's got that like fight about him. Do you know what I mean? Like, Celtic don't have someone like that in the team. Do you know what I mean? And again, from Sunday there, it was just disappointing. I feel like teams know how to come at Celtic. Do you know what I mean? I feel like no team now has any fear going to Celtic Park. Like, normally teams would just sit back, soak up the pressure, and hit Celtic in the counter attack when they go to Celtic Park. Teams don't do that now. Teams have a right good go at Celtic because of how vulnerable we are at the back. And then there we go. There's for the big game next week at Ibrox. I'm sorry, coming up on Sunday. There's no Trusty as well, so who's not been great at all. Let's be honest, the defence has not been great whatsoever. So now Celtic are going to have to go with probably Dane Murray at the back, who is not great, to be quite honest with you. So I would say teams know how to come at Celtic. So yeah.
And you're talking. You're talking about Trusty there. They confirmed the appeal. They lost the appeal the day. So he's actually banned for 2 games. It's 2 or 3 games. I think it's 2.
Sure, it's a 3-game ban, yeah.
3-game ban, because one was for the earlier in the season. So there's a 3-game ban, which means that he's going to miss the double header away to Ibrox 2 Sundays in a row. And like you say, the Celtic defence is significantly lacking. One thing I'm not going to get, Celtic is still win the league, right? But one thing about Celtic that I think when I do watch their games, it has an air of what people, when people talk about the all-conquering Rangers 9 in a row side of the 90s and how that came to an end in the late 90s. They talk about the season that they were going for 10, where it just became really stale. And really, a lot of the players that they had been all conquering for so long, some of the players had moved on, a lot of the players had got older, right? You look at Cal McGregor, yes, right, there's been the fucking horror of, well, no horror for me, but horror for Celtic fans of Wilfred Nancy this season, Um, and Martin on the elite side of that, and Brendan Rodgers earlier in the season. Um, it's been said for a number of years that Callum McGregor can't keep playing 60 games a season. He simply can't keep up, the amount of football that he's been asked to play. And I think you're seeing that with him now because he's not all that young anymore. He's what, 32, 33, something like that.
Yeah, he's starting to be in his 30s now, so he's
There's a
getting on.
touch. And to be honest with you, there's a touch of that with our captain James Tavernier as well. So I think Celtic just feel a wee bit stale, and I wonder if that staleness. The fans obviously felt that staleness has needed refresh, not just for this season, but seasons gone
Mhm.
past now, and the board have sat in their hands and done nothing about it. Grant.
I just think the Celtic situation is fascinating because, even towards the end of last season when Aberdeen won the Scottish Cup final, it almost felt like a natural time to say to Brendan Rodgers, look, you've done so well at the club, but we need to go in a fresh direction. And you look now with hindsight, lost to Kairat Almaty in the Champions League, and then you look at the league form. At the one point, I think they were 8 points behind Hearts. I remember the game that Hearts beat them 3-1 at Tynecastle. And obviously that was the end of Brendan. And then we all know the fallout of what happened with Dermot Desmond and Michael Nicholson and what was going on there. But there's just, I don't know what Darius thinks of this. I'd like to hear his comeback on this. But it just feels such a disharmony on and off the pitch at Celtic. There's no connectivity there. You look at the players that they've been so reliant upon over the last couple of years. Schmeichel, obviously, for a period of time, he's been at the club. McGregor, we just talked about there. But Maeda and Hatate have been well off it this season. You look at the front line. I mean, I'm looking at the game for the game of the weekend there. You've got a front three of Yang, Chavanshara, and Tanetke. Now, I think Tanetke is a good player, but for somewhat reason, he's very inconsistent. Yang, not really sure if he's got it. I think he's very hit and miss. And Cavanshara, I'm just not really sure if he suits Celtic's style of play. He seems like a bit of a target man to me. Now, you look at Celtic's teams of yesteryear, with obviously Kyogo being one and obviously Larsson in the past as well. They were blessed with blistering pace. I mean that's what for me Celtic are really lacking this season is a bit of pace, a bit of quality. I mean, apart from Nugren, who I think has been Celtic's miles best player this season, you don't really know where the goals are coming from Celtic. I don't know what Darius thinks. I'm going to stop and let him get a bite of reply.
Nigrin, I think is one of them players for me. Like he's got goals, right? But when you actually see him off the ball, I just don't think he's great as well. I mean, I don't. It's just crazy. It's considering the amount of goals he's scored, but there's no that quality. There's no one from the bench that could say, "Oh, he's a game changer." Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you look at, I mean, even with Hearts as well. Like you'll have players on the bench that could change games. Do you know what I mean? Celtic don't have what they've had. Players coming off the bench. Oh, he's going to come on and score. I mean, as I said, I'm looking at the squad. Obviously, Trusty being sent off. I forgot about Benjamin Arthur. Probably will be the guy playing on Sunday. I forgot our new signing from Brentford. But yeah, I think it's been flat.
But another thing that's interesting as well is you got a guy in Adamu from Freiburg, I think it was, and he doesn't come on Sunday. I mean, that just beggars belief. You're looking for a goal to win a game of football, and you bring on Maeda, who, let's be frankly honest with ourselves here, has had a poor season and doesn't look interested.
He's been no great. Hatate as well. I think Hatate's cost us in quite a few games this season. Do you know what I mean? Like the penalty incident against Livingston as well.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago there, it was silly to give it away. The European game at Bologna, Celtic were in a good position at that time. Do you know what I mean? Like winning away from home in Europe, and it was an uphill battle. But I mean, I think it just needs a complete overhaul. There's players that don't want to be at the club. I think Maeda you could just see Maeda. He just looks disinterested. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't get his move in the summer, after the Kairat game. And it's just, there's a few players definitely in the club that, don't want to be there. You can just think with the body language as well. It's just, nah.
My very last comment before Jamie comes out, because I know he's got his hand up in this discussion. If Celtic don't win anything this season, the one person that's blameless in all of this is Martin O'Neill. Martin O'Neill has kept Celtic in this title race. It's kept Celtic involved in just about everything. For me, it's down to the board not thinking about what they would do with Rodgers at the end of the last season. It's keeping Rodgers in the job too long, probably before they did eventually get rid of him. It took that Hearts win to get rid of him. And then appointing a guy in Wilfred Nancy who, let's be honest, was a huge risk, a huge gamble, and it's completely backfired. But I want to go to Jamie because I think he had a comment.
Yeah, I think you made quite a good point about the O'Neill thing. What I was going to say was sort of along those lines is that I don't think we can underestimate I think you're right about the malaise and things like that. And I look at Callum McGregor and I think there's no way that you can go on winning things like that for as long as you do without, at the very best, getting complacent. It's going to happen. It happens to the best. It's going to happen at Celtic. I don't think we can, dismiss the damage that, in terms of this season, and we can talk about the issues that are around Celtic, but the damage that Wilfred Nancy in that, 8-week spell or whatever it was, has done to Celtic this season. Because I was saying to my pals recently, realistically, if Celtic had just kept O'Neill, they're probably meandering their way towards the title at the moment.
Yeah.
But, and again, my in-laws are Celtic supporters, and I remember when they first brought back O'Neill, I was saying keep him for the season, because if they don't win the league and O'Neill's in charge, nobody's going to get in his back, right? So at least you're sort of alleviating that aspect of it. That the fans probably won't get on the back of the team or the management. If he does win the league, it's brilliant because he's a legend and all the rest of it. But that would have given the Celtic board time to evaluate things for a few months, get everything in place, and then get a really good manager. That's easier said than done, of course. But they went and it was the timing of it was insane as well. It was in the days leading up to a cup final
what was it? The cup final, the Old Firm, and there was another huge game. What was the other huge game?
Hearts at home.
Hearts at home. That's right. I mean, that was I looked at that guy and I thought, you don't have a clue what you're talking about. You don't have a clue what you're doing. And you could tell very, very early on, it wasn't a case of it worked to start with and it got a new manager bounce and then it sort of fell off. You could tell very early on. Now, given how long it took them to get him to that position in the first place, surely someone at Celtic at these points in these conversations have realised this guy's a bit of an idiot, by the way. I always say if you get a manager that comes in and prioritises at any club, regardless of whether it's Hearts, Celtic or Albion Rovers, comes in and starts going on about the style of play, you're for it. Because you just don't get away with that at this level. You can get away with that when you're at Man City and you're able to spend £60 million on a right back. But it's not the market that you're working in. So yeah, like why they didn't just go, do you know what? The Nancy thing, that's not going to work. Let's just stay with O'Neill, meander the way towards the title. They didn't do that, and now we're talking about this title race, which, of course, as a Hearts supporter, I'm happy about. But it's just insane the self-destruction that this Celtic board seems to have done this season.
Darius?
Yeah, I was going to say another thing. Even the atmospheres at games as well. I mean, I'm a season ticket holder at Celtic as well, but you look at the games that you watch at Tynecastle, look at the games you watch at Ibrox. The atmosphere at Celtic Park this season has been absolutely dire. I mean, the cup game against Dundee, we scraped it through in extra time. There was 24,000 there. That must have been one of the lowest attendances, I think, since Raith Rovers, maybe back in 2000, early 2010s. Even lower than the Europa League games under Ronnie Dyla as well. But it's just the whole feeling around going up to Celtic Park at the moment for Celtic fans as well. It's just not been enjoyable from a Celtic point of view. It's been, the whole Stuttgart game as well, for a European game, like you think, oh, going through in Europe to the knockout stages and having a big European night should be a good crowd. It wasn't like that as well. The whole tennis ball situation as well, that was a shambles from the start, and then just the whole. It was just terrible from start to finish. The whole booing of Schmeichel, I thought was pretty. That's terrible as well. I mean, he's not been great. He's cost Celtic in big moments this season, but you don't boo him in front of you. Don't boo him in front. I was annoyed at from Thursday, and then Sunday was just not much better. He was still getting stick. He's not been great. He's cost us in big moments, but don't boo him when you're playing for your club. You know what I mean?
I mean that is the thing. Look, my team over the past number of years, right? We've had some difficult periods over the past number of years, and one of the things I've learned, right, and this is one of the things that Danny Rowe has completely changed about Rangers since he's come in. The synergy between the fans in the stand at the home games particularly, but in the wider context of the club, the synergy between the fans and the team is so fucking important. It's crazy. We talk about fans being the 12th man. Actually, there is real truth to that. If you look at, Hearts. I mean, they're just riding a crest of a wave. They really are, and the support time cash. I mean, how long's the season ticket waiting list for Hearts now? And you cannot. Well, I don't know this for certain, but I am willing to bet money that you cannot get a ticket for the home games right now. For love nor money. And you can understand why, because there is that such belief in their team, and that is what Danny Rowe has done at Rangers. He's turned the team completely around, to the point where the fans believe that we could win this league. And actually, I think we're not playing brilliant football at times, although we have been better in recent weeks, certainly at home anyway. But we're driving our way through, and that has not been there really at any point this season at Celtic, Darius, in my view, even under Brendan Rodgers.
There's not been any consistency as well. I mean, look about Rangers have got with Danny Rowe. You know what I mean? They've went on a good run. I think I've seen was before the Livingston game or even after the Livingston game or whatever. But since Danny Rowe's took over, I think they would have been like 6 or 7 points ahead in the league. Do you know what I mean? Like he's totally transformed Rangers this season. He's been. I actually think he speaks quite well as well in interviews. I think he's quite, he speaks well, and I think he's got this Rangers team believing that they can go on and push for the title. I think obviously Sunday's going to be a massive game between Rangers and Celtic, so it'll be interesting to see what he does then. So yeah, I think you wouldn't have said that 5-6 months ago. Coming into it, he's totally transformed how Rangers have been.
Grant?
Just to come on to Rangers, I mean, it's actually a very interesting topic because, one wonders what would have happened if Danny Rowe had been in at the start of the season because, it would have been...
Grant, don't, mate. Don't.
Well, but the facts are there, I mean...
it was going to be fucking Danny Rowe. Let's know. It was going to be fucking Danny Rowe and they hired Russell Martin.
I mean, it's funny to say as an Aberdeen fan, we shouldn't particularly like anything to do with Rangers in particular, but I actually really like Danny Rowe. I think he speaks very well. He's very measured in his interviews. I think he sounds a very likeable guy. He's managed a very difficult job of the past at Sheffield Wednesday. And what I think he's done very well with this Rangers team is he's just gone back to basics. He's made it very, very simple for the Rangers players. Have they played better? Yes. They're not quite there yet. I still think they're a bit of a work in progress, but they're certainly in the mix. And I just wanted to get your take, Josh, on the game on Sunday against Livingston, because that could actually, in some respects, be a point gained from 2-0 down. I mean, okay, you're looking at the game in isolation thinking Rangers should win this game. They're playing a Livingston team who haven't once it's the second game week of the season, as we've been talking about. But when you're 2-0 down after about an hour, I mean, let's be honest with ourselves here. This was a game that Rangers really should have won, but Jerome Prior had a fantastic game in the Livingston goal. Livingston threw their bodies in the line, scored 2 very good goals, I have to say. But the red card changes the game with Montano's red card. I think we're coming on to that discussion a little bit later on. But for me, to come back and get a point, that could be very crucial. I don't know what you think, but it's a strange way to look at the game, but that could be a valuable point for Rangers come the end.
I mean, here's the thing, Grant, right? Rangers' last 3 away games, 3 draws, right? 6 points dropped. Take that 6 points, and we are top of the league, 2 ahead of Hearts, right? Look, Livy have improved under Marvin Bartley. I think that's fair to say, right?
One wonders if he'd been in earlier. Obviously, Martindale should have been gone before Christmas, in my opinion. But carry on.
But let's not forget, they have won 1 game all season, right? That was nearly their second win at 2-0, you know. I'd be interested to know which team, certainly in the modern era, has had the fewest wins in a league season. But that game...
I'll stop you there, because I think Ian Crocker said this on commentary. I think it was Morton in the past, which would have been around about the early 90s. So carry on.
Grant. So the reason I say that is Livy are dog shit. Livy are absolute dog shit. They are shit, right? They've signed a lot of good players. Marvin Bartley's getting to play better, but they're dog shit. We should never have been 2-0 down in that game. Livy defended incredibly well. Let's not forget, Rangers went 2-0 down after Danny Rowe made the sub. He changed things at half time. He brought Miovski on. He took Skovolson off, who was dog shit himself in the first half. But apparently, Danny Rowe said he'd had a wee knock or something like that in the first half, and it was a precaution. I'm not sure how much I believe that. And then with the sending off, Rangers just went for the fucking kitchen sink, everything at it. At one point, late into the game, at 2-2, you had Mikey Moore, Telo Asgard, Chermiti, Miovski, Nadiri, somebody else. Chikwane came off. Somebody else that's kind of an attacking player. Can't think how it was right now. Might have been Gasmer or maybe
Gassama.
Yeah, I think he was maybe still. At one point you had all these players on the pitch. And I mean, obviously, I think we'll come to the red cards because there was 5 of them over the weekend, right? Or the red cards that should have been, right? So we'll talk about that. But Rangers should never have lost that game. Chermiti. He's a fucking enigma. How can you look so good against Celtic away to Parkhead? How can you look so good in one of the fucking most massive games of the season against Hearts at home, score a fucking hat trick, and then you actually look like a YouTuber away to Livingston? Darius.
I was going to get on to the incident right at the end of the Livy Rangers game, the Mikey Moore incident. I was looking at it, and I've listened to it. So if it's not a penalty, right, which it wasn't, is it a red card? I mean, Mikey Moore's about to strike the ball.
I think it is. I think it's a red card.
I don't know how. I don't think VAR. I think VAR were looking at the penalty. I don't know if they were looking at the red card. I'm trying to remember if they were. But if that's not a penalty, it's going to be a red card. Mikey Moore's about to strike the ball.
Yes.
Right. This is the thing about it, right? I think you can probably have a debate about whether or not it was in the box, right? Because when he makes the tackle, I'm forgetting what player it was.
Cammy Kerr.
Yeah, Cammy Kerr, exactly. That's right, Cammy Kerr. When he makes the tackle, he takes one of the legs and it's probably outside the box. Then
Yes.
he takes the other leg and it's inside the box. So, I know the rules where the foul starts, but then the question is, was the was the first leg enough to disrupt Mikey Moore or bring him down? Because the thing is, he was getting a shot away, right? There was nobody getting across, right? And he has got a goal scoring opportunity from about 16 to 18 yards out, directly on goal. And it's the 90 fucking third minute with another 8 minutes to play potentially. Mate, genuinely, I know what has been said, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the Willie Collum Gordon Duncan show on this one, because I want to know what the rule is. I know they're saying they can't check for, if it's outside the box, they can't send the ref to the monitor for a yellow card or a foul, right? But for me, it was a red card.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a red card. Whether it's a penalty or not, I mean, I think Sky Sports tweeted a freeze frame where it showed it was outside the box. Now, if you want to go with that, I'm not, it looks like it's outside the box, but you can't tell me he's not getting a shot away there. That's a clear goal scoring opportunity. It's a red card.
Agreed. It's dog shit. And it's dog shit. And for me as a fan, right, that means, because that was at what, 91 minutes or something, right? We are then, remember I just told you about how many fucking attacking players Rangers have got on the pitch. Rangers were absolutely battering Livy. And we've got another 8 minutes to play against 9 men. So for me, it's such a bad decision. It's such a terrible decision. And it's just repeatedly happening over and over and over again throughout the league.
I was going to say another thing as well. I mean, especially with it being so late in the game. Say that Moore hits the shot and goes, that's a mass. I could have been in the massive 3 points. And the thing is, now you're getting to the stage of the season where these decisions
really fucking matter.
It could really matter, whether it goes for Rangers, whether it goes for Celtic, whether it goes for Hearts. Every decision like that matters. I think, looking back on it, right, I thought first angle I was like, it's a penalty, and then when you see it a game, you see Moore hitting the ball. It's dog. So it's denial of goal scoring opportunity because he's striking the ball. I don't know how it's not a red card. But it's decisions like that could, between now and the end of the season, we're getting to the stage of the season now where these decisions could impact, the clubs massively.
See, if I'm really honest, and try to say it as neutrally as I can, Hearts have had the better half of these decisions more often than not this season. And Rangers and Celtic, I don't want to say Rangers and Celtic aren't disproportionately, getting them in compared with every other team in the league, but in compared with Hearts, they are. I'll openly admit that. I think there's been a few times where we've had decisions I thought, well, you got away with that, or it's questionable. But as you say that, if they have another man sent off, Rangers are scoring another goal as far as I'm concerned. Now, listen, I could be totally wrong with that, but I believe they probably would have. If that gets to the end of the season and Rangers lose, finish second by a point, that's, that you look back on these things and think, fuck's sake.
It is huge, and you're absolutely right, guys, with what you're talking about. But let's look at the facts here a little bit more closely. Rangers had so many chances up to that point to put Livingston away. Yeah. This has become a talking point because Rangers didn't take their chances. Rangers had so many opportunities even before Livingston got their first goal. Actually Rangers, when they got their first goal, probably were at the period of the game where they never really looked like getting the goal. I mean, I counted Prior made at least 6 saves in the game, and 3 of them are top draw. The one under the post at 0-0 is one of the saves of the season, probably second by Craig Gordon's at Dens right at the end of the game. Yeah. You obviously have the Majowski one, the Mikey Moore chance as well. But, you know, because it's come right to the end of the game, it's a huge talking point. But it couldn't have been, because if Rangers had taken their chances and had been shown a little bit more, quality in front of goal, this doesn't become a talking point, I don't think.
Grant, Rangers XG, you're a stat. Rangers XG was over 3.5.
Yeah, it was.
Crazy. Jamie, did you want to come in?
Well, I was just going to kind of touch on earlier what you were talking about with Danny Roll coming in and it's obviously transformed things. I think we actually seem to forget that Rangers have only lost to one team in the league this season. Have lost twice to Hearts, but
yes,
so it's not like we had this idea that Rangers were an absolute mess. They just drew far too many games at the start of the season. That's also starting to come back to haunt them because they've obviously drawn their last three. But they were never an awful team. They just, well, I say that they were pretty shite under Martin, but yeah, I'm not surprised that they're back in it, because it was all very marginal. They weren't getting pumped every week under Russell Martin. It was just clear. It was clear there was probably good players there, but it goes back to what I was saying about Nonce earlier. He's come in there and tried to make them play in a certain way. It's like what Danny Roll's come in and done. He's just simplified the whole thing, as you said, simplified it, and it's amazing how players react to just being asked to play simple football sometimes. It doesn't need to be overcomplicated.
Yeah, definitely. Right, lads, on that topic, actually, we'll just to give them their dues, because they're right in there. Motherwell not that far behind. Can Motherwell still be considered as potential title contenders?
Yes. I don't think they will win it, but yes. I mean, I think if they win their game in hand, what are they, 3 behind Rangers?
Yeah, 58 their own.
Assuming that Celtic remain the same and such what. So if Rangers are title challengers, which they clearly are, Motherwell are. I think we're fixated on the fact that they're on this great run, that we think it's going to continue forever. It won't. They're not going to win every game for the rest of the season. We look at Hibs last season. Hibs, I think from, late November through the end of April, didn't lose a single game. So, teams have gone on these runs before, and it has, I'm not going to say Motherwell are going to fall apart, but they are going to drop points before the end of the season. I don't think their record against the top 6, if I'm right, is that great. I think there's, they've beaten Celtic and drawn with Hearts and Rangers, but it's not been brilliant. I think they beat Hibs as well, but until they're out of it, you have to consider them because of how close they can potentially be to second place. What would be fucking hilarious for me would be if Hearts won the league and Motherwell finish second.
Grant?
I just think the story of Motherwell has been absolutely sensational, and I think Motherwell fans should be dreaming. They have every right to, because they play fantastic football. I mean, for me, they have one of the best players in the league in Masewinise. I think he is going to be hot property in the summer. I think that Motherwell did very well to keep him beyond January, let's be honest. But there's other players that are stepping up to the plate now as well. The likes of Eli Just. Longolo has been excellent this season. You've got guys like Elliot Watt, who I think would walk into the Celtic team certainly, and possibly walk into the Rangers team as well. To see where Motherwell are at right now, right? Their next 2 games are against both of the Dundee clubs, Dundee United at home and Dundee away. Then they go to Celtic Park on the 14th, and we've got Taris on this podcast. If Motherwell win those 2 games, and it comes down to Celtic against Motherwell on the 14th of March, then it gets very, very interesting, because Jens Bertolascu's team are fearless. They play fantastic football. They've got nothing to lose. And you know what? I'm not a Motherwell fan. In fact, as an Aberdeen fan, I'm not particularly impressed with Motherwell in historical times. But they are a very, very good team to watch this season. I mean, as I said, it's more than just about Masewinise. And I think the worry for Motherwell fans would be if they lost Askew in the summer. And quite frankly, I know we're probably going to talk about this later on, but for me, Celtic should be all over him in the summer. Absolutely all over him, because right now he's the sort of manager Celtic need. But the question is, how much are Motherwell prepared to try to keep a hold of him? They're going to throw everything to try and keep him. But, Motherwell are having a wonderful season. I mean, the way they dismantled St Mirren at the weekend, 5-0. I mean, it was just
biggest winning margin away.
Biggest win of the season. Biggest win of the season. I mean, they were absolutely magnificent. You know, I think it was 4 or 5 different goal scorers, 5 different goal scorers. Bjorn Golfsson getting his first goal for the club as well. Longolo's been excellent this season as well. As I mentioned, Saeed, I forgot about him. You've got guys like Charles Cook coming in. I think getting Stephen Welsh back, I think has been massive as well at the back for Motherwell. But you know what? Motherwell have been fantastic this season, as I've said. I keep saying this, but you know, why can't they dream of the league? I don't think they will win the league. I agree with Jamie. I don't think they will win the league. But if they win the next 2 games against Dundee United and Dundee, and they get to that Celtic game on the 14th of March, then there's a discussion to be had here because, you know, Motherwell, before the split, have got to go to Celtic Park, they've got to go to Tynecastle, and they've got Hibs at home, and Falkirk, who are all in the top 6. Motherwell are fearless and could win all 4 of those games. Now, conversely, they could not win all 4 of those games, but they have been very competitive in pretty much every game this season. They should have won at Celtic Park early in the season. Yeah. They were 3-0 up against Hearts at Tynecastle early in the season. So Motherwell are not out of things, and they're definitely going to have a say in the tail race one way or another.
Yeah, absolutely, Grant. I mean, and this is the joy of the split, isn't it? Because it is going to separate the men from the boys. And I think you make a good point, Jamie, around Motherwell are unlikely to win all the rest of their games. I don't think Hearts, Rangers or Celtic are going to win the rest of their games, you know, but when we get to that point in the split, your mouth, like, is from an objective football fan point of view, your mouth has actually water in it, the thought of the split, isn't it? Because right now, if you're a Hearts, Rangers or Celtic fan, or a Motherwell fan, really, when you go into your game at the weekend, your phone, you cannot get your phone out your hand to check the other scores. Do you know?
Yeah.
You've got. I watched the Livy game in the pub at the weekend, and me and one of the guys I was watching it with literally just sat with the phone open on the updates on the Celtic game the entire time, because it's that it's that, you know, every single goal and kick of the ball is so important, and basically is, you know, when we get to the split, every game that happens in that top 6 split is potentially a title decider. You know, with the exception of maybe the Hibs Falkirk games, Hibs versus Falkirk games, but you know, every match in that split's a potential title decider. Where there are not title deciders is down the bottom. Right. In terms of relegation, lads, we all agreed Livy are done.
Down.
Yeah.
Sadly, yes. They've shown a bit of recovery in the last few games under Marvin Barley, but it's too late for them, I think.
Yeah, they're done. They'd need to win. They'd need to win every game, basically. And they're not going to do that. They're not going to win, you know, all these games. So that's what we're accepting. Livy are gone. Be interesting. I mean, one of the interesting things about them will be, I'd like to know that stat about Morton, Grant, if they won any games in their league season.
They did, but I can't remember how many they won. But I'll look it up as we're talking.
Gretna must be up there as well as.
Oh,
yeah,
they were. I think was it 3.
I think they're the second. I think they're the second worst. But yeah, that's a good point about Gretna.
We need to get that one out on a tweet.
But just with regards to the bottom, I mean, you know, as we said, Livingston are probably gone, but I really worry for St Mirren. I mean, you know, they have just dropped like a stone since they won the League Cup final. I mean, it's just quite extraordinary to see how far they've dropped. I mean, does it more case show you how bad Celtic were under Wilfred and Nancy that St Mirren, since winning the cup final, have won one match? I think. I mean that was a Hearts game. Hearts, yeah, I know, but it just goes to show you, you know, it's just absolutely madness. But they don't score goals. They conceded 5 at the weekend. I mean, that's all like St Mirren to concede 5 at the weekend, but in the last few games, they just don't look like winning. I mean, they were pretty well beaten by Hibs the week before. They lost at Kilmarnock. Now, Kilmarnock are showing a little bit of fight under Neil McCann.
Yeah.
And, you know, very unlucky not to take someone off Celtic recently as well.
Right.
Dundee are showing a bit of fight. I was at the Livingston game a couple of weekends ago, and Dundee should have won the game. They were 2-0 up and then they allowed Livy back in. But, I mean, people are saying Aberdeen and Dundee United are out of it. If there's a winner in this Dundee United-Aberdeen game, as we're honest, it's still goalless. But, the loser of that game could come embroiled in that battle for 11th. I do worry for St Mirren. They don't score goals, and that's their Achilles heel.
Yeah.
I'm saying it. I do worry for St Mirren as well. I've got a few St Mirren mates as well, and they have done over the past couple of seasons had done well under Robinson, but it's just I think he's just took them as far as he can. I just think St Mirren are, they'll just want to just stay up now. Do you know what I mean? They're happy they've got the League Cup.
If they can go again, and as you say, they stay up and go again, they might recover quite well. But the problem they've got just now is it's a snowball effect. I think it's particularly when you're a club like St Mirren. If you win a trophy, I've often thought it's a bit of a curse with the League Cup because it comes so early in the season. That if you win it as a St Mirren or a Falkirk or that type of club, how do you get yourself going for the rest of the season? Because you've just achieved that high, you're not going to
hit the
highs. You're not going to get to that level again. That again, it goes back to the thing about complacency I said earlier. It's slightly different, but you're just, how do you mentally get yourself around that? That's such a hard thing to do. We also see it with when teams outside the Old Firm win the cup. The next season, it's like, what do we do now? It's once you've reached that high. If Hearts win the league this season, next season will drop like a stone. I think we'll sign enough players to maintain a decent level, but it's that. That's the curse that St Mirren have at the moment, is that they have had this high and they just can't seem to get themselves back on that that even keel that they would have been on, in past seasons. That's kind of why I worry for them, is just the snowball effect. You look at the, Hibs when they went down, that was just a snowball effect. They took their eye off the ball, and before they knew it, they were relegated. So yeah, for me, it's might come down to a head-to-head between St Mirren and Kilmarnock at this rate.
I think St Mirren have got Livingston, I believe, away at the weekend. That's a massive game for St Mirren.
It's huge.
If they don't win that against Livingston, then you do start to get worried for them, I would say. I think as Grant said earlier on, Kilmarnock have got a bit of fight about them. They were unlucky not to. I don't know how Celtic got away with winning that. To be honest, we got away with it, but Kilmarnock, when you've been watching them the past few weeks, they've got a bit of fight and desire back in their team. St Mirren just all over the place. Watch the highlights against the Motherwell game just there from Saturday. They just, albeit the red card, we'll get. I was going to leave you to talk about that from earlier on, but they were already 3-0 down at that point, I think, anyway, in the game. So it was like Motherwell kind of had the game sealed, but they just all over the place. St Mirren, if they don't win at Livy, then you start to get worried for them, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, for me, football's a relatively simple game. Put the ball in the back of the net at the top end of the pitch and keep the ball out the net at the other end of the pitch. And particularly the former one, they're not doing any of them now. They're not doing any of that, and they have always been really good at that. They've always been good at scoring goals. They're not never been free flowing. Well, certainly under Robertson, they've never really been free flowing, but they've always been dependable for goals, and they have always been dependable as a hard working defensive unit. Just as they seem that's happening for either factor right now, and Kelly are on the charge.
Aye.
I know they haven't. Performances have turned around a wee bit, and there was a couple of results recently. But they have had. It's been a wee bit stop start, but you can tell by the way that Kilmarnock have been playing that they're ready. They're ready for this fight. They're ready to pull themselves out of this relegation. The one thing I would say, the amount of quality that are in, and I suppose we say this all the time with the 11th team, the amount of quality that's in both St Mirren and Kilmarnock, I don't see, third, fourth, or second in the Championship beating them. Maybe Partick, because Partick have been doing really well.
I've been
Um,
saying that, but any championship game I've watched this season, there's a real lack of quality
yeah,
down there. There's just nothing. It's shite. Let's be honest. It's not a good standard. There is a real sort of jump in quality, as Livingston have well found out.
mm,
There's a huge jump in quality between the championship and the Premiership, but you never know if let's say it's St Mirren v Partick Thistle, who have a cup tie against each other next week. So that, bit of mind games going on out there. If that was to, rear its head again in a playoff, let's say, Partick Thistle get a 1-0 win at Firhill, St Mirren, under the pressure they'd be under at home, only takes, one bad pass and their fans will be on top of them. But yeah, I just don't think the quality that either of those clubs or Dundee, Aberdeen, or Dundee United would have too much problems getting rid of a Partick or an Arbroath or whoever it would be.
I think the one thing that could be fascinating is if St Johnstone don't win the league, because if St Johnstone don't win the championship, then it becomes very fascinating because let's not forget here, St Johnstone are leading at the moment, but Partick Thistle are right there.
yeah.
I think that dynamic is going to be fascinating because if it is St Johnstone in the playoff and Partick go up automatically, then I think the goalposts shift a little bit because Valakari will want to get St Johnstone back into the Premiership. Let's not beat about the bush here, and let's not. I'd love to see Arbroath get in there. Let's be honest. I think Arbroath would be an unbelievable story. Now I don't think Arbroath will, but I think it'd be unbelievable if they did. There'll be absolutely zero pressure on Arbroath if that was the case, but. Listen, it's going to be very, very fascinating. I mean, I think Dundee under Presley, if they did end up down in there, they will show a lot of dogfight. They've, been much improved since the start of the season. As we said, Kilmarnock have definitely showed a bit of fight recently. I think John Jules has been really good for them. It's a shame he went off injured in the Celtic game because I thought he was fantastic.
I think he's out. I think I saw. Sorry to jump in, but I think I saw that he was out till the end of the season. But
that's a big blow for Killy.
I could be miles off there.
Yeah.
No, so you're right. You're right. I've seen that.
That's a big blow. That is a big blow. But you know what? I think McCann is making them a lot tougher to beat. They got a creditable point at United at the weekend. They'll chip away and they'll get enough draws or pick a few points up here and there. I just wonder, will that be enough? At the moment it's between those two, but let's not rule out Aberdeen and Dundee United in that conversation yet because Aberdeen are really struggling. United have had their problems as well, although I think United are in a slightly better position than ourselves. And Dundee, Stephen Presley said it last night when he was talking to Darryl Curry and co. They're not safe yet either. So it really is all to play for still at the moment.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, obviously it's cup next weekend as well, and the last game is St Mirren Partick, which could end up happening as a playoff game come May. So I think that'll be interesting to see how that could even go. I know it's the games at Paisley, but I mean, a top end of the championship via struggling St Mirren side, which could end up a playoff game come May. That'll be a good game.
It'll certainly show St Mirren where they are at the moment. I think, if nothing else, it'll give them a sort of gauge to know how would they come up in a playoff against, whether it's Partick Thistle or someone else. How would they manage that? It's hard to tell in a one-off game what could happen 2 months, 3 months down the line, but it might be an indication depending on how that goes.
Yeah,
excellent. Right, lads, that takes us to the end of the show. Big Cup week coming up next week. No, next week. Well, we've got the back to the league action this weekend, but the week after, we will be back on next week. At this point in time, I cannot remember what we've got coming out next week. This is why I shouldn't ever be put on hosting duties. So unprofessional. This is why we should stick with Bleasdale, Charlie. One of the guys that makes the fucking remotest bit of effort into preparation.
Well, to fill in a gap, we know it's season 15, episode 40. If my phone is up to scratch. So there we go.
Typo for the start of the pod. Season 15, episode 40. Was that right, Grant?
Yeah, it was. And I think we should have it as In Our Heart of Hearts. I think we have to have that as the title.
No, listen. It's been a good show. There's only one title for me, and that is Not Bad for a Jobby Podcast.
Very good, very good, very good.